Welcome back, our viewers, and our episode still continues in Good Morning Egypt concerning one of our main topics as we discussed earlier, which is the Greco-Roman Museum in Alexandria opened its first temporary exhibition titled Alexandria Identity and Culture Through Time. To shed more light on this issue, we are joined over the phone by Dr. Yahya Abdulqader, the tourism counselor. Good morning, Dr. Yahya.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, wishing you a good day. First of all, the Greco-Roman Museum is one of Alexandria's most important cultural landmarks with a long history connected to the city's ancient heritage. Could you tell us more about the museum, its history, and its significance as one of Alexandria's most important cultural and archaeological landmarks?
Really, like the Greco-Roman Museum, like in Alexandria, is one of the top, must-see, attractions when international visitors, and regional and local as well, come to visit Alexandria due to its Greek, heritage and background, founded, over 2,000 years ago, and it held, many of the international attractions, like the Alexandria Library, and many of the establishments and the port, and even the lighthouse, the famous lighthouse, which is like one of the landmarks of Alexandria. So really the history of the Alexandria as a port is very prominent worldwide, and that's why it has been linked, with Greek, and Roman civilization, and it must be due to, when you the famous, Queen Cleopatra and Antony, and all the history has been over there for thousands of years. So it's very attractive. And this year we had a very good year for international tourism to Egypt, which has been figured out through the 9 months, of this year.
Well, Dr. Yahya, the museum has a diverse and rich collection of artifacts representing different aspects of Alexandria's ancient civilization. Could you give us an overview of the museum's different departments, its remarkable archaeological collections and acquisitions that it houses?
Really, the museum itself, is a major point for visitors. As I said, internationally and local as well. And Alexandria enjoys, the amphitheater, enjoys the catacombs, where also the burial sites, for the leading nobles, and merchants and emperors who ruled Alexandria. And as we know, Alexander the Great, he laid the foundation for this city, and the Ptolemies followed him. So the museum has an excellent collection. It has been renovated over many times, and now the grand opening over 300 artifacts, it becomes again a focal point for tour operators, for foreign visitors, from the Mediterranean and worldwide as well.
Well, how important is to inaugurate this temporary exhibition in this time, from your point of view?
Well, Egypt, has at least 100 museums, spreading in the country all the way from Mediterranean up to Luxor and Aswan. It has been major attraction for world visitors, who enjoy the heritage and archaeological, records of ancient Egypt. So it's a very focal point. And remember, we have hundreds of major cruises that carry 2,000 and 3,000 passengers who tour the Mediterranean. And they stop over in Alexandria to visit the museum, and then they lead their way, to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum in Cairo, and then they join the boats again in Port Said to continue the route, throughout the Red Sea, and make their itineraries, locally and basically as well.
Right. As the exhibition features 21 archaeological artifacts, could you tell us more about these artifacts and why were they chosen at the first place?
Well, really, the heritage of Alexandria is very immense and very rich and very abundant. So, the curators of the Greco-Roman Museum, they are very professional and they've visited many times. So really they selected, like the artifacts that represent and highlight the Hellenic history, like of ancient, like Alexandria, which was like really the pinnacle, like of civilization in the Mediterranean for like over 300 years. So with its attraction, with its academies, with its library, like with its lighthouse, and it was a great port as well for major, like ports in the Mediterranean by the time. So they reflect, like the daily life, like, and the Greco-Roman, like culture, like it was very famous for its, like gods, like, and protecting, like figures, like Zeus, like, and remember the wars that were taking, like between Athens and Troy and all this. So there's some remnants of this history, as long as, like the Cleopatra region and, like the historical times of founding the city.
Yes, Dr. Yahya, as you mentioned that these artifacts give us or let us to know about the stories of how people lived in Alexandria and this eras. Could you tell us about these the stories that these artifacts tell about the daily life of those people?
Yeah, really, like as you remember, like the artifacts of, like the relics that we gather and dig, like out from time to time, from Pharaonic times, from Greco-Roman, and all the civilizations and the historical periods that follow that. The tombs, like, and the records of the leaders and, like major figures of each civilization, they keep, like their, like feelings and their beliefs, like that they are passing this life and they're going to enjoy eternity. And they invoke about the gods, like the Isis, the Osiris, the Hermes, like moving them, like from Pharaonic to Greek, the same gods, and the Horus, for example. So they've been transformed like into Greco-Roman names. And they assist, like the deceased, like when he moves to another life, to eternity, and how the deeds, like in lifetime would be weighed and see, like if he deserves, like to go and enjoy paradise after that. And they call it, like the like Lisham, like of eternity, the Elysee, which means eternity in the other life. So all this is depicted in the catacombs, in the tombs, and in relics and historical findings that visitors, like will enjoy when they tour the Greco-Roman Museum in Mexico.
Well, with this rich collection of the Greco-Roman Museum, many artifacts in the museum storage may still have stories waiting to be discovered. Can we say that these artifacts kept in the storage of the museum are still hiding a lot of stories that are not told yet?
Can you repeat this again?
Yes, I will repeat my question again. As the museum has a rich collection, different artifacts that may have different stories waiting to be discovered, can we say that these artifacts in the museum are still hiding a lot of stories that not discovered yet?
Well, definitely, like because like all the time, like we go like to do like agriculture projects or mining or whatever all over Egypt, like from north to south. So we get so like for example in Mansoura, like 2 months ago, they were making diggings, like that belong to the Ptolemaic area. So like because like the Greek period was a long period, over 300 years, like, and that enabled, like its impact on Egyptian civilization, way of life, belief, like, and like even the process of life and moving to another world, to eternity. So all this is reflected, like in the artifact, and some of the major part of it, like is under restoration. That's why we have only like 300, like over 300 artifacts on display, and more will be on display recently, inshallah.
Yes, the temporary exhibitions can also create engaging experiences to attract the younger generations to visit the museum. To what extent do these exhibitions help in attracting the visitors, notably the children and youth?
Well, really not only children, but like we have like schools and colleges and institutions that teaches like history, archaeology, heritage, and the tour guiding, for example. So at least we have like 50,000 graduates every year from the hotel schools and academies all over Egypt.
Exactly.
And we have the same figures, like for universities who teach, like history, like Pharaonic history and Greco-Roman history and Islamic history. So we have over 100,000 scholars who go and visit and tour the museums year-round to gain practical experience, and then they become professional tour guides and scholars as well.
Well, regarding the use of technology that can increasingly becoming an important part of the modern museum experience, how can the use of the technology make the visit of the museums more attractive from your own point of view?
Well, of course, like the classic tours, which we normally, like do when we go to the museums. Now, like we have more, like advanced, like ways for the visitors, or can be, like going like on his own, or just like escorted by a tour guide. So there is like some added technology where he can like hire, like the systems that he can make the tour and pay like a small fee to do this. And now in each museum, like there is a visitor center where they can show them, like audiovisual about, like the background of the museum, the history, if it is like Hellenic, like Greek-Roman civilization, or Pharaonic, or whatever. So he will have like a glimpse of what he's going to enjoy when he tours the museum for 2 or 3 hours. So this is like the audiovisual and the visitor center rooms has been added to major museums now in Egypt.
Well, Dr. Yahya Abdulqader, the tourism counselor, thank you so much for joining us today in Good Morning Egypt episode and giving us your further analysis and information regarding the artifacts that bring to this exhibition and how they are tell different stories in the ancient era. Thank you so much.